Delighted to say Kenny Cunningham joins us on the line. Morning, Kenny.
Morning, lads.
Kenny, what's going on over there? What's happening?
Oh, it's miserable. It's lashing.
We're not on about the weather, Kenny. Come home.
Lashing politically?
Well, it's not lashing over there.
Politically?
I'm not going to fall for that one.
Desi Farrell's appointment before we get into the football. Kenny, a guy that we've spoken to you about before, that you would have played in the same team if I'm right, back the years.
Yeah, no, I'm delighted for Desi. I've kept in touch with Desi on and off, and spoke to him earlier in the year. He'd taken on the senior position in the Fena, and he was really enjoying that, and popped up to see him, and he looked very much at his working amongst the group. There was a good relationship between him and the players. Clearly, he's got a bit of experience working with, around the Dublin setup as well. So, seems like a kind of a natural choice for me. Big shoes to fill, obviously, but I think Des is kind of big enough personality, and his knowledge of the game is up there. And I think there've been a natural, healthy respect from the players as well, and a broad spectrum of players. So yeah, it seems a good appointment. I wish him well.
What was that you were in looking at when he was involved with one of the underage teams? Was it?
No, it popped up. No, it's just on there in the season. I went up to see the lads train, just to catch up with them. Just watch the lads train. Funny enough, Bohemians were training on the pitch to my left, so I was down. My eyes were down between the Bohemian session and the Fena boys. The Dublin contingent went there with them at the time, like so. Yeah. As he was taking the session, so yeah, it was just good to see him working with the players, and spent a little bit of time with him and the players afterwards, kind of a debrief upstairs. And yeah, it was very interesting, actually. Very interesting to see him work, his kind of relationship with the players, how he spoke to the players, and his thoughts about the game, and even in terms of like the players themselves. He kind of gave a lot of responsibility to the players, and there was clearly a healthy respect between him and the group. So I'm sure that'll transfer to the Dublin senior setup as well. Yeah,
that sounds like it might be like one of the biggest questions is about what sort of the template that Jim Gavin had in place, and so what comes next. But certainly in terms of that devolvement of responsibility, it sounds like from what you're saying, Desi is very much of that mould as well, that actually they're the ones that are important, and let them make the decisions almost.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even a short period of time I was there, you very much got a sense of that. No ego involved, with Desi prepared to take a big step back and allow the players to have those conversations amongst themselves and be decision makers themselves. So that was a very interesting dynamic to see it work. Something which I never really experienced as a player. Certainly in my early years, it was pretty much my way or the highway, and that kind of manager in terms of manager and players. And players often ridicule maybe if they spoke up in meetings and things like that, and kind of snigger that amongst the players. And if you spoke up too much, you might maybe got a reputation for yourself as, oh, here he goes again, he's another opinion, he won't shut up. Where totally the opposite. Yeah. The experience with early in the season, it was a good thing to see. Yeah, I think it's a very healthy environment to have. Yeah, clearly it's been there. It's been around the Dublin setup, not just the Dublin setup, but I imagine all around the country, different county levels. But I think it's the right way forward, not just in GAA obviously, but in any kind of elite sport, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens over the next few years. Kenny, want to get into the Premier League with you now? Obviously, all gets underway tomorrow, 12:30. Liverpool against Watford at Anfield. And it's obviously any game that Liverpool are involved in now is going to be one of the most interesting of the weekend. 8 points clear at the top of the table. Kenny sauntered obviously through the Champions League to win their group, but yet there are still plenty who are unconvinced about this Liverpool team. That it's only a case of whether it comes crumbling down. What's the truth about that Liverpool team? Are they going to win the Premier League by 20 points? Are they going to crawl over the line, or are they actually going to get caught?
I don't think they'd be caught. I thought they'd win at the start of the season, so clearly I haven't changed my mind. And I think there's an argument. The argument is coming stronger that they'll put probably possibly more distance between themselves and the chasing pack, rather than potentially Manchester City railing them in. Although I think there is an argument there for saying potentially Leicester could be their biggest challenges. But yeah, I take your point in terms of overall the performance of the Liverpool team since the start of the season has been quite at a part to what we saw, how they finished certainly last season. But for me, that's one of their strengths. The fact that they've been able to keep this run of games together, the fact that they haven't been performing at the highest level defensively, it just hasn't been quite right. Individual performances have dipped around the pitch. But you know what, Adrian, like I said before, it doesn't matter, because the collective strength, the kind of mental strength of this team. Like it's absolutely powerful, and for me, it's what's going to see them through. They're just so focused. You know, they're just relentless. They're just as simple as that. I don't think they just won't allow this title to. It's almost like an inner will, a collective will amongst the players. That, you know what, the quality of the performance really doesn't matter. We're going to win every game by hook or by crook, or certainly get enough points to win this league title. I think the hunger's been there for a while. It was there last season. I thought they'd do it last season. They were pipped. Credit Manchester City for that, and I think they'll beat themselves up a little bit in terms of points they frittered away second half of the season. But I don't think they'll make that mistake again. For me, it's Liverpool's title, and probably the argument really is how much they're going to win it by rather than will they.
Where does that come from, actually, Kenny? You're on about that. They have an incredible capacity to win games, and you can see that is it coming from the fact that, I suppose, between them, they've very few Premier League medals between them, this team, and they have this massive ambition to win a Premier League medal, and probably augmented by the fact that it's been such a long search for Liverpool, 3 decades or whatever it is, that they haven't done it. But what's driving them? Because it's not all that apparent in Man City at the moment, where when City fell behind against Manchester United, you never really felt like they were going to come back and win the game.
Yeah. No, you're right, John. It's a good point. And it's an obvious thing to say. Like, when you look at that, people say Liverpool wanted more this year. And, of course, that's, to a certain extent, a ridiculous thing to say. But I think there's a hidden truth in there. And that relates to what you're saying, Johnny. Manchester City serial winners in that dressing room, back-to-back titles. Do they want to win it a third time? Of course they do. Is it that real kind of desperation, that kind of manic desire to go and win it for a third time, as opposed to those Liverpool players, that mentality to win it for the fourth time, and not having those kind of winners' medals scattered around the dressing room, as you've alluded to there? I don't quite think it is. That can be almost, John, I think, at a subconscious level, as opposed to Manchester City players turning up and thinking, you know what, lads, let's this one go, let it go this year. We'll come back in next year. So I don't think it's a conscious decision, but it's almost like it must be a little subconscious drop off. Because the body language of those Liverpool players, it's staring at you on the TV screens, and when you see them being interviewed after, their body language on the pitch, you know, how they're communicating with each other on the pitch, their interviews after the pitch, the folk, you can see it, the hunger, it's there, that kind of desperation. That league title is what they want. They're good enough now, the squad's good enough, it's better than it was last year without making too many signings. It's been driven by the manager himself, very charismatic figure. You're asking me what are the reasons. I think he's a big reason, but the players themselves, the hunger's there, the quality's there. They just want it so desperate, and it's, for me, it's there on the plate. I don't think they're going to give it up this season.
Are they better without Fabinho, Kenny?
Yeah, you're trying to steer me up. You wanted that one go, Adrian, do you? No, look, it was thrown at me a couple of weeks ago. Big loss for Fabinho. I said I don't think there'll be any loss at all. Not because I'm talking down Fabinho, he's a very good player, but I just think Henderson sliding in. They didn't do initially. He let Henderson out at Everton last week, but the last couple of games, 2 clean sheets, Adrian Henderson in there, kind of holding midfield role. No drop off whatsoever, and I didn't expect it to be. In fact, Henderson dropping in there gives the opportunity to introduce Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain a little bit higher up the pitch in those advanced number 8 positions. So that's the beauty of Liverpool, the strength of the squad that I'm talking about, particularly those central midfield areas now. He's got some good, really good options in there. Klopp, Keita looked at hitting a little bit of form now. Oxlade-Chamberlain getting that match fitness back, where he's shown the quality, which is why Klopp brought him to the team. And that's what I'm talking about. This Liverpool team's getting better and better, even with the existing squad of players. They're actually improving year in, year out.
Yeah, go on, John.
Just what's interesting is that if you coldly analyse the good teams they've played this season, they haven't been convincing. So the 2 games against Napoli, they were pretty poor. They got 1 goal in the 2 games and 1 point. And Napoli wouldn't be that strong. They weren't great at Old Trafford, kind of limped a bit to a draw. They were fortunate enough to win at Stamford Bridge. They got a late winner against Leicester. So you could kind of make, like, in terms of the Champions League.
Are you trying to make my argument for me here, John?
Well, it's like, Kenny, I don't think they've been amazing, but they've a capacity to win these routine games fairly routinely.
Which could mean they're one of the greatest teams of all time, or it could mean that they're actually just close to falling apart.
I don't think they're close to falling apart, but it's how good are this Liverpool team? If Liverpool came up against a proper team in Europe, I mean, Liverpool are still not favourites to win the Champions League, despite the fact they're so far ahead of Man City, and it'll be interesting to see when they are challenged. Even if Liverpool played the Manchester United we've seen over the last week, this weekend, I would fancy Manchester United to give them a right rattle. But Kenny, are they kind of going to peak further on in the season, or can they get better? Because, I mean, even if you look at Salah's had a 5 or 6 out of 10 season, really. So there are, you know, you could say there are improvement there, but I don't know the answer, being honest with you.
No, I think there is improvement there, John. You're absolutely right. And like I said, I think if they tap into that, then the argument and those performers, the collective level improves, and the arrival level where they were second half of last season, then you are talking about them winning the title from between 10 and 20 points. It's as simple as that. So that's the beauty from a Liverpool's perspective. Looking at that, the lead that they have at the moment, saying, you know, we haven't been at our very best. There's more to come. I mean, that would give you a huge sense of encouragement. And you speak about kind of the small little frailties there, little drop-offs in terms of individual performance. You know, cohesion maybe hasn't quite been there, too many goals conceded, etc. And of course, I agree with all of that. But having been in the dressing room, like obviously not in the dressing room playing at the level of Liverpool's performers, when you're in a run of form, when you're not playing your very best, but you keep churning out results, even that gives confidence to the dressing room, John. That gives it that belief that something's happening here. This is going to be our year. You know what I mean? We're not playing at our best, but we're still relentless. We're just picking up points and just continually, you know, just ticking boxes, like, and moving on to the next game. The belief, the self-confidence amongst those players, won't be saying it publicly, but in isolation, within the confines of the dressing room, they must be looking at each other, staring at each other's eyes and thinking, it's their year. You know, everything, you know, it's all coming together like planetary alignment, wherever it is. It's going to happen because of the circumstances you're talking about.
And it's top versus bottom as well, of course, in that one. Nigel Pearson probably have to wait for his the Pearson bounce. I'm sure he might have to wait until game 2 for that. Leicester Norwich, just to touch on briefly, Kenny, like Brendan Rodgers obviously has signed this monster deal. You assume that he's done that, I mean, given their position in the league, that he believes that this top 4 stuff is sort of, or pushing for the title, is eminently repeatable sort of year on year. I mean, it might be that, or it might be the fact that he's sort of guaranteed himself a massive payday. I guess the question is for that Leicester City team as to whether that's actually the case, or they're punching way above their weight at the minute, and actually life is more realistic in a sort of 6 to 8 position for Leicester.
Yeah, well, first of all, look, I don't believe in punching above your weight. You've probably worked with me long enough, Adrian, to know that I don't believe in the theory. You can only play to your maximum, and that's what Leicester are doing, have been, certainly for the last month to 6 weeks, Adrian. I think they were a little bit off towards the start of the season. He was kind of searching for the formula, winning formula. Rodgers, he shifted Maddison out to the left wing for a couple of the high-profile games. I think it upset the balance of the team. But when he's gone back to his tried and tested, predominantly Maddison and Tielemans and those two advanced number 8 positions, spoke about Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain maybe going forward for Liverpool. Well, Maddison and Tielemans are as probably as good as there are at the moment, those positions, with Ndidi in behind. Now, we flipped to a dime in the last couple of games to accommodate Iheanacho, but Maddison playing at the tip of that kind of diamond, the strength down the spine of the team. They've been great to watch. And you're right, he's no fool, Rodgers. He knew what he was taking on. We took on that group of players. Excellent balance of the team, top quality, and a young and improving squad, which was only going to get better and better. But I think, lads, it's a window of opportunity for Leicester this year. I don't think it'll be as easy next year. The likes of Manchester United, Chelsea, I think it'll be a far healthier state. Potentially even Arsenal with a new manager. So I think there's a real window opportunity from this year. I've always felt that from the start of the season to grab a Champions League spot and move on. And I think Rodgers, as much as he's saying all the right things, he's a very good PR man. He's done a great job there as well. But I think secretly, this Leicester job, he's loving at the moment. Profile has gone through the roof. But for me, secretly, deep down, he's still thinking stepping stone.
Yeah, a great PR man, Kenny, is the line I'm taking out of that.
Well, he did
bit of a dig there.
His comments before, when he was linked with the Arsenal job, were very, very astute. He said, you know, Leicester is 100% my focus at the moment. And it was kind of like, well, why are you saying at the moment? So he left a little bit. But a few days later, he got his 5-year deal. He knew that he was in a very strong position. He'd be entitled
to be considered for those roles now.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Arsenal and City, Kenny, like, I mean, 2 basket cases at club to a degree that obviously meet on Sunday at 4:30, one of the live games on Off the Ball. I don't know where to start with this one. Like, what's for both of these clubs this season? I see, like, even City. This morning, Pep's secret release clause, one of the stories this morning, that, you know, City Chiefs big admirers of Pochettino. Like, I don't know where it's all gone wrong for City this season.
No, well, I think there's reasons why it's gone wrong. Probably haven't got the time to go into it now, but yeah, it has unravelled a little bit. But I think there are reasons for that. But I'd still make them strong favourites for this game at the weekend. I wouldn't club them both together in terms of basket cases, both of these clubs. I make City strong favourites. I wouldn't get too carried away. I watched the Martial performance West Ham a few days ago, up till they got that first goal, Adrian. It was pretty awful stuff. It really was. And it was just the fact that really West Ham imploded after they got the equalising goal, that they ran out comfortable winners. But those kind of inherent weaknesses in the Arsenal team are still there. Don't be filled by that result against West Ham. Yes, they'll get a little bit of confidence from the game, but if Manchester City go down there with the right attitude, I'm sure they will, and get the better players on the pitch. I still expect Manchester City to roll over Arsenal, despite those a couple of deficiencies that they have around the pitch at the moment. Manchester City.
Yeah. All right, Kenny. Thanks a million.
No problem, lads.
Speak to you soon. Kenny Cunningham on the line there, previewing the weekend's football. And as I mentioned, that Arsenal City game is live and off the ball on Sunday from 4:30 in the company of Nathan Murphy and Gary Breen. And Stephen Doyle and Brian Kerr are going to take you through the early game. 2 o'clock, Manchester United up against Big Duncan's Everton.